Hi everyone, Bonnie English here. And here is Hugh, a Triumph Bonneville T120. Today I'm going to be treating Hugh to a basic oil and filter change. So why am I doing an oil and filter change? Well, one of the most fundamental things you can do to prolong the life of your engine is to do these regularly. Service intervals these days are roughly 10,000 miles or 16,000 kilometres. And in my opinion, that's quite a long time between changes of oil and filter. So I like to do an interim one as well. If your mileage is fairly low and you tend to leave your bike in the garage over winter, when you get your bike out again in the spring, it's a good idea to do an oil change too. So, as any girl will tell you, you need the right tools for the job. So, this job is pretty simple and only a few simple tools are needed. Let's have a look at what we need to do this job, starting with the motorcycle oil. It's really important to check your manufacturer's specifications, but in this case I'm using 4 litres of 1040 weight fully synthetic oil. Next we have some oil flush. Now opinions divided as to whether this is needed, but it works for me. We obviously need our filter and sump plug washer. A 10mm hex key. If you can, grab hold of one of these wicked looking things, an oil filter wrench, something to catch the old oil in, and some rubber gloves and an old rag, not an old bag. So Hugh is fitted with a bash plate, and great, they've thought of everything. There's a handy cutout here so you can access the oil filter. Fantastic. Unfortunately, the sump plug is here. Great, thanks for that, boys. So it's got to come off anyway. It's secured in place with 4 10mm bolts, so simply remove them. So let's get started on this relatively quick job. So it's obviously important to wear protection, so I'm chucking on a pair of gloves and wear some scrappy clothes that won't get ruined. So don't wear a white top or your best bra. So we'll start with the oil flush, which will go straight into a cold engine. Undo the filler cap and grab your funnel, which I've got to mention, sorry about that. You need a funnel, otherwise it will just slop everywhere. And chuck in your engine flush. And pop the plug, whoops, back in. Next, run the bike until it is warm. If you don't have a temperature gauge on a water-cooled engine, wait until the fans come on. Well, that's Hugh nicely warmed up. Now remember, from this point onwards we're dealing with hot oil, hot exhaust and hot engine, so be super careful. So slide the catch can underneath the bike and make sure it's directly under the sump plug and oil filter. Next, undo the sump drain plug. So you can undo it with your fingers, but make sure that you whip your hand out of the way when it's undone, because this oil is going to be hot. So sump plug and washer removed. Remove the washer, one use only, don't need that anymore, and check your sump plug. Now this one unfortunately is not magnetic, but if yours is, you'll see that there might be some metal filings gathered around it. If you do, that's absolutely fine. If, however, there are larger chunks of metal, it is indicative of something going a little bit wrong, so you probably need to get it checked out. Loosen the oil filter with the wrench. Doesn't take much to get it going. Finish it off by hand, making sure that the filter goes into the catch can. So give it a couple of minutes to allow all the oil to drain, and then obviously dispose of the old filter. Remembering your top tip. Use your glove, wrap it over the old filter, and you can do the same with the other one. It's a great way of disposing of your gloves cleanly and the filter. Nice little package. So with our new oil filter, we remove the O-ring and we'll just lubricate that with some fresh engine oil. Makes it easier to fit and remove next time. Pop the O-ring back. And obviously we've got a new washer here for our sump plug. By now, all the oil should have drained out. So grab your clean cloth and give the oil filter mount and the sump a bit of a wipe over. Spin the oil filter onto the mount, like so. Just do it hand tight, don't gorilla it up. Next, put the sump plug on, just finger tight. Finish off with your 10mm hex key and tighten it up to 22 Newton meters, or hand tight. And now just give it a good wipe. So with the filter and sump plug fitted, now to put some fresh oil in. So I've got a 4-litre container here, but I'm just going to fill it to 3.5 litres and then check in the sight glass. So using our trusty funnel here, carefully pour it in. Well, that was exactly 3.5 litres. Give the casing a little bit of a wipe and replace the plug. So I mentioned the sight glass, and here it is. So you can see that there are 2 cutaways here and here, and this will indicate your oil levels. So if the oil is below this bottom line of the cutaway, then the oil is too low. If it's above the top line, then you have too much oil in. As you can see, we're pretty much on the level here. So it's a 4-litre capacity and we've only used 3.5 litres. So where does the other ½ litre go? Well, obviously the oil filter is empty. So what we'll do is we'll start the engine, circulate the oil, and then check the sight glass again. But we will probably need to top up. Well, I've had old Hugh running for a couple of minutes. I've checked in the sight glass and I did need to top up the oil just a little bit. I also made sure I checked for leaks to make sure that everything was back in place as it should be. Finally, take him for a ride. Then when you're back in again, check the oil levels one more time. And job done. I'm Bonnie English. I hope you found this little video useful. If you did, please like or subscribe.